Spirit 105.3. Hi.
Hi, Erica. This is Jordan. How are you?
Jordan, it's so awesome to connect. And we're just so excited that you and Colton Dixon are going to be singing live in Tacoma in just a few weeks. Are you guys stoked about coming to the Northwest?
I'm so excited. It's going to be so awesome.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be epic. So I got to tell you, Jordan, I think I watched a video of you on Instagram, and you were talking about how The King is Alive was inspired from some words by Max Lucado about the resurrection and how it's a reality that we get to experience every day as believers. So what was it about those particular words that just lit a fire in you?
Okay, so it's a blend of Max and my son, actually. So I had picked up my little boy Judah from school. He ran upstairs, and my little girl ran upstairs with him. And my little boy, he was like, "Dad, come upstairs." He kept yelling at me. So I ran up, and I was like, "What's going on?" He was like, "Dad, I want to hang out with Jesus today."
Oh.
It was so kind of weird because I had just read this thing from Lucado that I was like, oh my gosh, this applies perfectly. That's just kind of the way the Lord works, right? And so I said, you know what, buddy? I said, Jesus is just as alive today as he was when he walked this planet. And I said, you know, when Jesus died, when the resurrection happened, that actually transformed our faith every day in him because it allows us to talk with him. It allows us to engage with him, because he defeated death and he's here with us all the time. And my little boy just like lit up like a match. And he just like runs into the other room. He's like, Jesus! He's just so happy. I think in my mind, I read that thing from Max Lucado, and I was like, dude, this is so right, you know, that, like, the resurrection is something that we, like, commemorate, like, one time a year. It's not something that we're, like, being reminded of every single day. Jesus' life was, like, the marker in time in which everything shifted for when you dedicated your life to Jesus. And so it was so infectious watching my son get that truth, you know, spoken over him. I'm like, man, I want to write a song that will speak that truth over everybody and make everybody feel that joy and excitement of what the resurrection and what Jesus did and what that can bring into your life.
I just think that's incredible. You sound like such a wonderful dad. Do you have any traditions at home? Like, do you guys have a quiet time? Do you read the Bible together? I bet you sing. What does it look like in your house, the whole living for Jesus thing?
Yeah, you know, we do. A lot of the time in our family, we communicate a lot. I'm a terrible reader, so I do a lot of audio Bible stuff just because, I don't know about you, but my wife and I are both like ADHD, so we both have a really hard time like focusing on stuff. And so like I'll open up my Bible, like I'm good for like, you know, a short chapter or like a couple pages, but once I kind of get too deep into it, like sometimes my brain will start running all over the place.
Sure.
So oftentimes I do a lot of audio stuff, but in communication, what we do a lot is we actually do a lot of time where we just talk about our day and what we felt like Jesus taught us about today, what we feel like we learned spiritually, what we learned about in our own personal life, what we're just kind of going through. And then we do prayers all the time together. So we love praying together as a family. We have like a list of people that we pray for every day. We have a list of things that we personally pray for over our family, over our home. My little boy loves saying, you know, he loves praying a hedge of protection over our home and angels over every window and door of our house. So he always says that. That's like his thing every night. Like him and my little girl, like they both have their thing. Like Jolie always prays over people that are hurting and people that are sick. And then Judah always prays over our house. So
my word.
Like their little thing.
I mean, isn't it so amazing that, I mean, they're so young. They're learning from an early age that they can turn to the Lord. They can trust him, that he's going to be there for him, that he's going to take care of the people they love. It's beautiful.
Yeah. You know, and that's what it's all about. It's just about, in quote, because, you know, it's so funny because like that childlike faith thing, you know, we all know that feeling that we had whenever we were kids and when we were learning about Jesus and church. And if you didn't go to church when you were younger, you know, it's like one of those things where it's like when you're embedded in it younger, you learn, but then you can kind of get this, like, I always call it like a numbness. I feel like sometimes, because I grew up in the church, I kind of became almost a little bit numb and also like almost excusing certain things. I know that sounds pretty bad, but like I went through a season of that where it was almost like, oh yeah, like we'll just pray for it. You know, you kind of say that sometimes, but once you like, it sounds so simple, but once you actually put everything into practice, everything starts to come to light. I feel like Jesus starts being like, yes. It's a simple regimen. He's not asking for us to not focus on our kids because we're just reading our Bible all day, or not focus on our time with our wives. It's just a very pinpointed amount of time that it's like, as a family, we're going to pray over each other every night.
Yes.
As a family, we're going to pray over others every time before we eat. We're going to come together. We're going to do Storytime Bible twice a week. We're going to do all these other things. And it's not like it's hours upon hours. It's just a simple practice of desiring relationship. And I think oftentimes that's what I felt like I really wish I would have probably had whenever I was younger, was just like a simple regimen that didn't feel like it was just church on Sunday and then the pressure to be something throughout the week. It's like, no, let's just be that throughout the week. Let's not feel the pressure to be it. Let's just actually do it.
You're making me think of something Jesus said, my yoke is easy and my burden is light.
Right?
Yes,
100%.
I keep this little flat Jesus. He's like a little flat sort of flannel graph Jesus here in the studio, Jordan. And he has a smiling face. And sometimes people make little hats for him. And it's this feeling like he's just with us. He just loves us. He's in the room.
He does. Yes, and he's constantly just looking for that opportunity to have communication with us. It's not like he's not going to show up, and so it's one of those things that I just feel like I really want my kids to be able to grow up knowing that this doesn't have to be some super constricted thing. This can just be like a relationship that you have and that you can grow in as you get older, and all these things are going to get more real and even more vivid to you as you grow up, because you're going to start seeing him in different ways than you do now, and so
Amen.
Putting that practice, putting those regimens in place. And, there are days, just like every family, that it's like, hey, this is not going to happen today.
Right.
But then, but when you do get to dig in and have that, it's just such an amazing thing that you can see in your kids and a shift that you can see in them.
I love it so much. Before I let you go here, I want to ask you about your dad, because the last time you and I connected, I know he had fallen off a ladder. How's he doing?
Yeah, he is doing really good. They had to rebuild basically his wrist and some of the things going on in his hand. And he's got some metal in there now, which is kind of a bummer for sure. He just got out of PT, I think, a week and a half ago, where he graduated. So now everything's good. So that's a blessing. There's a lot of really good things. It's definitely been a hard thing to go through. I think, he always says, he's like, I'm just not as young as I used to be.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, yeah, no joke, man. Come on. But he's also he's also talking to me about going on a ski trip this year. You know what I mean? So it's
okay.
So, as much as he's saying, he's still rebuilding his strength, he's ready.
Oh, I am so happy to hear that. It was amazing how people rallied around you, the Christian radio community. It was amazing to see that.
Oh, my gosh. Are you kidding? I cried that day.
Oh. Wow.
I just cried because there was just so many people. I just posted on Instagram, and it was within an hour, I had 5 or 6 videos that were either texted and DM'd to me that were just people praying on air. And it's man, it was such an amazing picture of what I think the church needs to be for everybody.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's we have this network, and we can all gather all throughout the country and be together and lift up people. I think that's just such a gift, man. I think oftentimes we can take it for granted a lot of times.
Yes.
But, it really is just such an incredible blessing that we have.
Wow. Well, Jordan Feliz, I am so thankful for you. We're so excited that you're coming to the Northwest. Thanks for hanging out with us on Spirit 105.3, and all my love to you and your fam.
Oh, thank you so much. We're so excited for the tour, and grab your tickets and we'll see you there.